This is a video on how to set up your formative class so that you can export to K-12. So I'm in formative here. I go up to classes. You can see I've set up a class here. I set this up by having the kids go to this link and putting in this code. So if I expand this here, you can see I've had 74 students sign up. And one thing I noticed about our classes, if they signed up with their school email address, they actually came in backwards. Their first name is their last name, and their last name is their first name. This is unfortunate. If that bothers you, you're probably going to have to go through and update these. The good news is that if you update them once, they should not change. So they should stay static for your class, I believe. That's what I think I've read in their documentation. But before you do that, before you make any changes to the names that they have entered or that have been brought in, I'm going to make a recommendation that you make one of these fields a number instead of a name. Now you'll notice that we really only have these two fields to use. The email we can't change, and we don't have any other fields available. So I'm going to recommend that you use one of these fields for a number because that is the only way to import into K-12. You can decide whether it's first name or last name. And so let's go over to K-12 and get that number. So I'm in my OLS. I went to the Grades tab, and I'm going to click Export here. This is our Export Grades option, and what I'm trying to do here is I'm just making a roster. I don't even need any of their grades, so you can leave these all default. I'm going to uncheck both of these grade values because I'm not taking any grades. And if you want, you should do last name, first name, email. If you want section membership, like if you're doing different classes for different hours of the same course, you can check that. But I'm going to leave it unchecked because I have one giant class. And I like to check this all and then uncheck them all because sometimes they have stray ones checked and you don't know what they are. So I just check it twice to make sure nothing is checked. And now I'm going to export. I recommend exporting to Excel rather than CSV because CSV adds not stray marks, but it adds some particular marks that you have to go through and strip out again. So I'm going to export to Excel. It says complete. You actually have to click the download button. So there it goes, it's going to download. And I will open that up. Okay. Let's bring Excel over here. So here's the spreadsheet it downloaded. Notice we have an org-defined ID, a last name, a first name, and an email. The org-defined ID looks like a student ID, but unfortunately it is not the student ID. We have two different ID numbers, and that is really annoying and difficult to understand, but the students have a regular ID number that applies to almost everything, and then they have this org-defined ID. And this number is specific to the internal workings of the OLS. This is the number you need to use for importing and exporting the gradebook, importing to and exporting from the gradebook. So my task here is to match these numbers up to these students in my formative class over here. So I'm going to go through, and this is going to be manual and difficult, I know, but it's only one time, then it'll be done. We can reward ourselves with ice cream once it's done. So go through, take a number from the person that it's applicable to, copy it, and put it in the name you want to replace. Once you do that, you will have the option, let's go back to a formative. Now I haven't done any grading, so these won't have grades on them, but I have this formative here, and I can go to view responses. There's one that I put in myself. The students have submitted things down below. And there is a button up here that says export. So I can export. And you can choose CSV spreadsheet or Google Sheets. You'll want to do a CSV. And I can click that link. It'll download it for me. It's going to open up in Excel again. Let's get rid of this other one. We're not going to use that now. And now I can open this up. Let's see what it exported. So you can see we now have the class, the email, the last name, and the first name. And if you've changed one of these to the number, you now have the number available. And this is what's going to make it possible to import into K-12. You also have, if you've done grading inside Formative, you have all the scores that you've assigned to the submissions. So you can do a quick formula to sum them, or whatever you want to do, just to get a single value. And then copy and paste that all the way down. If this is new information how to use a spreadsheet, I can help you with that. But that will be the setup, the basic setup for getting scores out of Formative into K-12. And I'm going to do a separate video on just importing scores because that could be coming from any system.